Welcome back everybody to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a jet pump removal on a 2001 Seadoo Sportster LE. This jet boat comes with the 951cc Rotax engine, and it only has a single jet pump. This process should be the same for similar years. So today we're going to need a 17 millimeter. You're gonna need a 10 millimeter. You're gonna need a 13, and that's about it. Here's another 10. So let's get to it. A lot of people make this sound really complicated, and the majority of the times that I take the boat out, I go ahead and remove the jet pump after every use. Sometimes it's a surprise what you'll find, and sometimes everything's all good. So here we go. We're going to start off by putting our boat into neutral. That way our reverse bucket isn't up or down. It's right in the neutral position. We're going to start off with removing the linkage to the bucket. Grab your 10 millimeter. Alright, we got that nut off, but go ahead and leave this bolt in there for now. We are going to now remove the nozzle cable, which is right here, and that as well is another 10 millimeter nut. Just hold it from the top and get it from the bottom. Alright, now that we got that nut off, go ahead and take the bolt out, and any washers that are underneath it, take them out, put them back together so you don't lose them. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's what holds what they call your Venturi. So you got your reverse bucket, you have your nozzle, and your Venturi. The Venturi is held on by 4 13 millimeter bolts. You don't even have to pull these all the way out. Just make sure that you got them loosened up all the way out. And I almost forgot, go ahead and pull that reverse bucket screw out of there and put the nut on it too. Alright, and that should be it, guys. Now that you got those 4 bolts loose, this whole thing is going to come out in one piece. Now that we removed it, we're going to set it off to the side. And now we're going to remove the 4 jet pump bolts, which in my case is 8. And the reason being is because I removed this jet pump so many times. I don't use Loctite on my jet pump bolts. What I do is I actually went and bought nylon bolts, which I put over the jet pump bolts. That way nothing comes loose. Alright, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pull this little tube out. See the little nylon bolts? It's got nylon inside to hold them in place. Alright, got all 4 out. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Now you can remove your jet pump. Nice and easy, straight back out. And there you go. Booyah. We did that in like 5 minutes. Alright, and then so when we're inspecting our jet pump, assembly. What you want to look for is any broken pieces on your impeller, and then the clearance between this impeller and this plastic piece, which is called the wear ring, has to be very minimal. Mine is really close on having to change the impeller, even though it looks really, really good. But the thing is, these clearances are actually measured in the thousandths of an inch. For this jet pump and this whole propulsion system to work correctly, that gap must be as small as possible. This is how it creates pressure and force. The next thing is to make sure that you install them with a brand new, they're called Neoprene Seal. For my boat, the part number for this seal is 76-10208. Now I'm not going to be opening this one up. This is actually a spare that I have. They're really cheap, like 20 bucks. But this is what a good seal should look like. There should be no slits, no cracks. It should be nice and flexible like that. And then another thing you want to do is inspect your drive shaft. And my drive shaft looks pretty clean this time. There is, though, some a little bit of weeds in here, which I'll remove. And then also make sure that your drive shaft has this little rubber piece at the end. It's called your bumper. Make sure when reassembling everything, make sure you clean everything out. Make sure that there's no rocks. Make sure there's no, just nothing in the way. Now, I made a mistake before, and when you grease your drive shaft, it's okay to grease it, but don't put too much. You just lightly grease it and you'll be okay. But the mistake that I made was I actually shoved grease into my impeller. And believe it or not, having grease inside, down in there in the impeller, would not let my pump seat all the way flush to where it needed to be. So I literally had to take everything back out and take all the grease out of the inside of the impeller out to reinstall. So don't make that mistake like I did, guys. Only grease the drive shaft. Now the next thing that I realize here is I see a little bit of grease coming out of my nose cone. This right here, which comes off with 3 bolts. I don't know if you can see the 3 bolts. That's called your nose cone. This is filled with oil or grease to maintain the bearings inside the jet pump nicely lubricated. And this is a brand new nose cone, and I see a little bit of grease coming out of there, so I know I have a leak. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to take it back out. I'm going to take all the oil out, and I'm going to try and put a little bit of that white tape around the screw this time to see if maybe it stops the leak. I'm going to go ahead and take out this bolt nice and easy. This is made out of plastic, so we don't want to strip any threads at all. You have to be real gentle with some of these things. So now that I got that taken out of there, I found a one of those candles for mosquitoes that we had used. I think this should fit the jet pump fine. I'm gonna go ahead and put that there to drain. Give it like 5-10 minutes, go do something, come back. Alright, so now my I've drained all the oil out of the jet pump, and it's kind of funny. I was only supposed to wait 10 minutes. Well, you can wait as long as you like, but as I was waiting inside my house for 10 minutes, it started downpouring real crazy. Like I had to run out here and cover the boat back up, and There looks like there's some water inside the impeller too. That's okay though. Alright. Now that we've drained most of the oil out, I'm going to fill it back up. I'm going to fill it up with some royal purple. You know, everybody has their preferences. Oh, you should use grease, you should use this, you should use that. A lot of people go with the BRP original, grease. But I've been using this royal purple and it's not bad. Alright, seems to be nice and full. I'm going to put some of this white tape around it and see if that helps the oil from coming out. Alright, so let's get that back in here. There we go. Alright, now we are ready to reinstall our jet pump. Get your seal. And this does go a specific way. The little lip, you'll see it's a little bit bigger on one side. That goes facing up. Just like that. And then everything is just putting it back together, is doing everything in reverse. So now we're going to go ahead and get the pump back onto the boat. And this part sometimes is a little tricky, and the tricky part is actually lining up the shaft with the jet pump itself. And you may need to reach around the back and pick the shaft up to get it to go in. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll get it in there as close as possible, and then I'll grab a screwdriver or something long enough to be able to spin your impeller. There we go. And once it's spun there, it's seated correctly with the drive shaft. Now we just put these washers with the bolts back on, your 4 bolts. Now that I have them all at around 10 pounds, I'm going to go ahead and tighten them up to about 15 to 20. You can do it in a crisscross pattern. Not that big of a deal. You'll feel them kind of stop. Now your boat isn't going to have these, but these are nylon nuts. They have a piece of nylon inside, and what that does is it prevents it from coming loose. So since I'm not using Loctite on those, I put these over those. Alright, and next, you don't want to forget this. I've already done it one time. I put everything back together without this. I had to take everything apart. So make sure you get that back in there. it only goes one way. So if it doesn't fit one way, turn it around, put it in there. Now we are going to put our Venturi nozzle and reverse bucket back on, and that was using the 13 millimeter. I do all of this by hand so that I don't strip anything out. Remember, this is all made out of plastic. Put these bolts at about 10 pounds. Next, we're going to put our steering cable back on. And then your reverse cable. You may need to lift up your bucket to line up the holes. And these little nuts are actually nylon nuts as well. So you don't need to be putting Loctite on these. And you don't need to tighten them all crazy like. And there we go. We have successfully removed, inspected, changed the gear lube, and put everything back together in hardly any time at all. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, post down below. And as always, take it easy, guys.